When I was stuck at 3 million for 4 years, I legitimately did not know if I had it in me as an entrepreneur to get past that point. The path of retention.com, which used to be called Get Emails, is very volatile. This is another thing that I say in my presentation. It's like, I show this graph and it looks like it's that, but it's not. It's like,
Yeah.
and like we're in another dip right now. And it's just, oftentimes I feel like first-time entrepreneurs try to copy what's out there and they just try to be like the same but cheaper or something, right? Which doesn't work. And my view is you want to be as different as possible. You want to be like milk, orange juice, milk, you know, like something that's so different that people can hardly even, it stops them in their tracks and they're like, I've just never seen anyone do anything like that before.
Adam, thank you so much for taking 30, 45 minutes of your time to do this.
Well, thank you.
I was mentioning this is a bit odd to me to do these short podcasts because my podcasts are usually long-winded, an hour and a half to 2 hours. So
Yeah.
we'll try to be short, brief, and all. We have a couple of topics that we want to talk about. But first, maybe a quick intro of who Adam is and what is it that you do. Maybe elevator pitch of retention.com.
Yeah, so my name's Adam Robinson. I am a SaaS founder. I'm currently the CEO of two companies. One is called retention.com. It's 22 million ARR. I started 4.5 years ago. It's bootstrapped. And we sell to e-commerce stores. And we do person-level website visitor identity. So somebody can hit your site, not fill out a form. We can figure out who that is and power a bunch of marketing workflows with that information, mostly over email. The other company, which I launched 10 weeks ago, sells to SaaS revenue teams.
Okay.
It's called R, like retention, R-B2B.
RB2B.
Like B2B companies. Same core tech. Instead of taking it to an email address, we take it to a LinkedIn profile and a business email, then we push that to Slack, and it's free.
Okay, I'm interested. So how you mentioned that with retention.com, you figure out who the person is and then send very specific workflows to them based on their, I suppose, interests and so on. How does that work? How do you figure out who that person is?
Yeah, so there's a lot of pseudonymous identifiers in the ad tech world that if you know what you're doing, you can sort of connect them to personally identifiable information.
Okay.
That's the whole magic of the technology.
And what are some of the companies, I don't know if you can mention this, I suppose you might have them on your website. So what are some of the companies that you work with on retention.com?
So like, think like, you know, our top rosters, like big D2C brands, like Warby Parker is this glasses company that a lot of people know about. Dr. Squatch was like a big soap company that exited a few years ago. Vital Proteins is like a known, Nestle bought them. So it's like these really D2C brands that basically, I mean, I think of it as marketing companies, you know, they like have these products, but what they're really good at is like figuring out how to sell on the internet better than anyone.
Yeah.
So those are the types of companies for retention.com that people know about.
When did you start retention.com?
November 2019.
2019. Why?
I had another startup and it was stuck at 3 million ARR and it was shrinking slightly every month by like 0.5%. And I was single and I lived in Manhattan and I literally
I need another business.
Yeah, I like literally wasn't making enough money to like do what I wanted to do in the next phase of my life. I was certainly making enough to be a single guy and do whatever I wanted to do. But like, you know, I got a family now and it's expensive, you know, my wife works, we need full-time help and, you know, like I got another kid coming and there's all sorts of stuff for you to spend money on once you have a family. So that was a primary motivator then. It's certainly switched because I'm in like, it's just a very different personal financial situation now. I wouldn't call those basic needs, but like the basic needs for my family are like not really a question anymore, you know? And now I just like love the game, you know, like it's very, very much like a personal challenge at this moment. It's like, I know that I've gotten as far as 22 million ARR.
Yeah.
I don't know if I can get to 50 because I haven't done it yet. I think that I can. I got a lot of stuff in the hopper that I think will add up and get me there.
Yeah.
But like, I find that challenge deeply riveting and inspiring. And like the ultimate validation for me, which is so stupid and ego driven because I know if and when I get there, it's just going to be something else, is like, so few people have made it to 100 million ARR as a bootstrapped SaaS that like, that to me is like, you're an Olympic gold medalist of SaaS
Yeah.
if you can do that. And it's not even about being like a billionaire or having a huge exit or like a unicorn or whatever. I love to like throw those words around because they get a lot of attention. It's literally just about like, you know, when I was stuck at 3 million for 4 years, I legitimately did not know if I had it in me as an entrepreneur to get past that point because I was stuck for so long. Now I know, right? But like now I don't know. Now, you know, it's like I feel like, you know, my peers as someone who's bootstrapped a 20 million ARR company are a different set of peers than when I was stuck at 3, you know? So do I have it within me to be, you know, good enough basically at this craft to like
To get
get
to
a lot
100
farther or not?
yeah.
Or, you know, it's like, I don't know, my retention.com's kind of stuck right now. It's just high churn. It's like hard, you know, it's just the market got a lot harder. The macro environment got harder. It's just got a lot harder to do what we do. And, you know, my journey has been getting stuck and getting unstuck and, you know.
It's interesting hearing you say that because I've talked about this in the past. It's you never get rid of that self-doubt. You know, it's just at a different level, right?
Totally.
It's like because
Totally.
you got to 22 million ARR, you know that you can do this, right? If you start another company and you want to take it to 22 million, maybe you have more confidence that you know how to reach here.
I certainly have more confidence in that.
Yeah,
There's no question. Right?
but not
Yeah.
how to get to 100
Totally.
million.
Yeah. Strangely, when I'm thinking about my current company, I'm like, man, this is going to blow the doors off to 15 or 20 million ARR. But I already see the same problems that I'm experiencing trying to grow my current business past 22. Like basically it's churn. Like all the business that I'm trying to create, I know the way I'm building it, it's going to be high churn, which that's what stops you from growing, right? Because like eventually the bucket is so large that like it's leaking at a rate and you just can't pour it in the top fast enough. And I don't know whether that's like me being honest with myself or a limiting belief. Like, I don't know which it is, but you said that. And I'm like, yes, I'm already thinking that, you know? And like when I started retention.com, I was literally, I mean, I tell this story in the keynote that I made yesterday. I was content with it being 3 million ARR. I had 3 million ARR companies.
You can start a family at that point.
That were generating $1.50 each.
Yeah.
They each had 6 employees. I was going to start another one. And Dave Rogenmoser, who I was sharing an office with, the CEO of Jasper, I had literally sold him on this vision. He had proof. I have this text from him on December 29th of 2020, where he's like, first paying customer, got the idea 7 days ago. Maybe this is my Get Emails, which is what retention.com used to be called. At the time, Get Emails was 267,000 MRR, but we thought it was huge because it was 25% bigger than the other 2 companies we had.
Yeah.
So that's what he was shooting for. And then he went from 0 to 50 million ARR in 12 months with like 12 people or something fucking crazy like that. And it inspired me to believe that I could do more, right? Like,
So was that the catalyst? You're at that point you were like, well, I'm gonna make this business, yeah, at least 3 million, but his story helped push you in a sense.
so the path of retention.com, which used to be called Get Emails, is very volatile. This is another thing that I say in my presentation. It's like, I show this graph and it looks like it's that, but it's not. It's like,
Yeah.
and like we're in another dip right now. And it's just, even the story of my current company, I've been stuck 3 different times. One time early on, we had a lower revenue, we had a lower MRR. So it was between month 9 and month 18. Month 18 was lower MRR than month 9. That's not good. That's not a good feeling. You think it's stuck, right? And it was like right around 3. But as Dave was doing what he was doing, we were kind of like figuring out a little bit more of who to sell to, who not to sell to, getting more efficient. And really by the time I was like, we should go for it, I think this is a unicorn also, we were at 12 million ARR with 6 people. So it wasn't at 3 still, but before we decided to do the unicorn thing, I was like, I don't see many people running software businesses that are like in the tens of millions ARR and just like taking tons of money off the team. I see everyone going for this unicorn play.
Yeah.
And that's interesting because like, I tend to believe that the odds are against you with the unicorn play, and you will never get paid a premium for one of these like, you know, lower growth, lots of cash flow businesses in that range, but like you get an exit every year, you know, like, so that was my intention. Dave totally made me think that like it was time to go as fast as possible, try to hit a home run, you know, maybe team up with growth equity, like, you know, and what I was seeing led me to believe that I had like a unicorn twice over, and it was all wrong. It was just like totally, the long story short was, I thought that by really honing in on this super tight ICP, it would solve the churn problem. And then I thought that ICP was a lot larger of a total addressable market than it was. So the combination of those two things, it just kind of backfired. I mean, it just wasn't what I thought it was. But yeah, watching that happen with Jasper made me shift my perspective from people who are building unicorns went to Stanford University. They all have venture capital, and they are a class of person that I am not. It wasn't even that I was angry about it. I was just like, that's not who I am. I'm like a bootstrap guy. You know,
Where did you study? You said you gone to university and so on.
I went to this university called Rice in Houston. If you're in the U.S., you kind of like have probably heard of it. It's like, it's a good school. But like, you know.
And what did you study?
It's a university in America is like not, I don't view it as a serious thing for most people.
Right.
Like people just go to like, because it's, I don't even, I mean, it'll be interesting to see where universities are at in 20 years. I played basketball and I studied economics, barely. I took like the easiest classes you could, like to make the highest grades that you could, because I wanted to get a good job, you know?
And did that happen?
Yeah, I got a job at Lehman Brothers, the now defunct investment bank, immediately after college, and I was a credit default swap trader for 10 years before I started.
Okay, and then and then you got into startup.
Yeah, the reason why is I showed up to my apartment in New York, and I got connected with these 2 other guys from my friend from high school who I was rooming with, that he went to college with, and they were starting a website in 2003 in that apartment called Vimeo.com.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I watched that happen, and I was like, I want to do that.
Right.
And like, I mean,
what would have been if you would have gotten involved with that at that point?
Yeah.
But I mean,
who knows? You know, like probably, you know, similar. I would have ended up in a similar place, but a very strange journey. It's so hard going from 0 transferable skills to like, basically the only reason I was able to do it is because I basically experienced this amazing stroke of luck in and around the financial crisis. Everybody doing what I did during that time made tons of money. So I like saved a bunch, and then it all kind of disappeared after the financial crisis. They regulated this market and it was just very boring. So I basically got paid a ton one year, 0 the next year. And I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm going to go try to figure out, I'm going to go spend all this money trying to figure out a new life. And if that has not worked by the time it's gone, I'm going to go get a job again.
Right. So
and thank God, you know, I find that startups consume every dollar that's around. Like it literally came down to like the last dollar.
Have you always been bootstrapped? Did you get any investment?
Yeah, I mean, I got investment from, you know, from myself, and my brother had sold a business. So like we ended up plowing $2 million of our own money over the course of 5 years into this thing. So like it's bootstrapped in the way that we behave, but it was not a true bootstrapping story, which was like, oh yeah, like 50 grand got, you know, it's like, but I could have, it's like hindsight. So like just as an example of like an entrepreneur's journey, my first product, we spent 20 months building it. It consumed $2 million of capital and it petered out at 3 million ARR. The second product I built in 12 weeks. First month we ran Facebook ads, spent $5,000 on Facebook ads, and we got 10,000 a month of MRR out of it. And it was basically like cash flow positive after 6 or 7 months. And two years in, it was 10 million ARR with 6 people.
Why? What?
Dude,
What got
I
you
think it's
there?
just like, if I think about every,
Because it seemed a
so
very
like,
big.
like
difference.
let's take what I'm doing right now, right? I have this, like, I'm spending all my time and energy on personal founder brand on LinkedIn and things related to it, right? I have a free product that I have a good hypothesis if I think we're going to monetize it, but I am not sure yet. Neither one of those things 10 years ago, I would have thought would be worth 1 second of my time.
Okay.
How is it going, right? So we don't even have the 3 key features that we're going to sell, which is like, we're gating our free trial from unlimited to like 200 leads a month. HubSpot integration that's like cooler than what you can do if you just like steal the leads. And an ICP filtering and like a hot page feature. Don't even have them yet. And we have 500,000 annual recurring revenue in 10 weeks in. And we don't even have the features we're going to charge for. Like, why? Because like, I appreciate all of this stuff from watching companies like MailChimp and like ConvertKit and like all Klaviyo, like all of this really magical company building, you know, non-intuitive things that like just unlocked these superpowers in the world with an unbelievable amount of efficiency that I would have had there would have been no way I would have been able to understand that when I started, you know? Like, your first instinct, if you know nothing about SaaS, when you saw what MailChimp was doing with this free offer, where you're like, this is a shitty free product. I mean, I remember, right? It's like, and then you, like, their competitor was this company called Constant Contact, and Constant Contact was a public company. They were like, MailChimp sucks. They're idiots. They're free. They have no customer service. It fucking blows. Use it if you suck, right? Like, that was basically their line.
I've never thought MailChimp.
No, but I mean, that's because they built an
back in the
incredible
day.
product. The brand dominated over time, right? But it was this very slow and exponential thing that happened. I mean, I was watching it in 2011, you know? So yeah. In summary, what I believe that I am good at now, which is like, in many ways, it's like marketing and product, and like sort of identifying places where there's asymmetric, you know, growth opportunity. I had zero understanding of when I was trying to build this first company, you know, like everybody builds way too much the first time, right? Like, you build the wrong things. Oftentimes I feel like first-time entrepreneurs try to copy what's out there, and they just try to be like the same but cheaper or something, right? Which doesn't work. And my view is you want to be as different as possible. You want to be, it's like, you want to be like milk, orange juice, milk, you know, like something that's so different that people can hardly even, it stops them in their tracks, and they're like, I've just never seen anyone do anything like that before, you know? And like, I just didn't have an appreciation for how or why that works. And now I just feel like I just view it as absolutely critical to getting something off the ground with any type of capital efficiency. So that is one reason why I chewed through millions of dollars getting this crappy product off the ground the first time. And now I'm able to do things like I'm doing now, which is like, I find it unbelievable. It's like, how do we have 500,000 ARR and we don't even have the features that we plan to charge people for? I got asked on the podcast earlier today, it's like, well, what are they buying? I'm like, I don't even know, because they could literally just steal what they're paying us for, you know, but 72 people think it's cool to pay us $500 just to like the product so much, you know?
Well, you mentioned about the millions that you invested in your first company to that they didn't grow that fast. But I feel that isn't that learning tax in a sense? Because I failed
Absolutely.
a lot of businesses as well, and I put energy and time and money in it, but it gets you to where you are today.
Yes. So I think that I mentioned this before. I think that if we only had 200 grand, I probably still could have gotten it to work. I just would have had to been much more disciplined.
Right.
Like money creates lack of discipline, I think. And I think you're exactly right. I would not recommend doing what I did. I mean, the only way you really could is if you like saved a bunch of money in a prior career, or you have
Yeah.
like a rich spouse, which is like even worse. Because like the rich spouse thing is like, no one has any idea anything about startups. And there's so much emotion and ego going on with startups that like you just keep plowing money in, even though there is like no semblance of product market fit. Like progress looks like, oh, I got a website up. It's not like real
Yeah.
progress,
Yeah.
So if I get asked, I want to be an entrepreneur, what should I do? It's like, learn on someone else's dime if you can in any way, right? Like
Oh yeah.
become a great engineer or become a great product person or a great salesperson. Those are, I think, the three ways to do it. And when you're there, try to do your job incredibly well, but try to understand the system that has been built around you, you know, and just really become the best in the game at one of those three disciplines. And if you're thinking about the world that way, it will very likely, an opportunity will come along and present itself to you. And if you're really good, you can find the other side, right? Like it's always super hard for founders who are not engineers to find good tech teams the first time around. Because why would someone work with my buddy who's never built a SaaS company, who's in wealth management, that like thinks that he's got this idea? They wouldn't,
Yeah.
because they want to work with somebody like me, who's like
Yeah.
had 2 successful SaaS companies, right? Like,
But you're building, and you're completely right. And I give this advice quite often as well. Whether you know what you want to do or you don't know what you want to do, you should experience working for a variety of companies, teams, and so on, because you gain one. If you know what you want to do, just go and work for a company that does it well. If you don't know what you want to do, explore, work for a couple of companies, because you'll assimilate a lot of that, knowledge and scenarios that you might want to go through as a founder, as an entrepreneur. I want to ask you something. So you mentioned, which is pretty valid, and I think a lot of people don't see this from the outside, or if you're an aspiring entrepreneur just starting, you look at those graphs and so, this company went from this to that, and you did mention, there's dips. There's always dips. It doesn't matter how successful you are as an organization, as a company, as a product, there's always dips. I've had someone on the podcast recently that said that, told me a very funny thing, but I relate to quite a lot, was you have 10 months great of growth, and then you have 2 months where you stagnate or you lose, you churn.
yeah.
And then the first thought that you have is, okay, who do we need to let go? Because we're not going to have enough money to pay everyone in 2-3 months.
Yep.
Have you been in those periods where things have dipped? Did you find yourself in situations where you had to kind of like tighten the belt a bit and take decisions like that?
Yeah, the 2 worst days of my professional life, possibly my life. One was probably 2016, and then one was in 2023. So, and they're both just big layoffs. So, and they were, it's always your fault, right? In the CEO seat, that's just what it is. So in 2016, we had this data mining and like boiler room cold calling strategy that allowed us to grow that company to 3 million. We had this list that was 250,000 contacts that were like incredible. They were one of the competitors' customers. We knew it. Like they were just leaving information all over the internet. They didn't know they were leaving. It was amazing. We had this other list that was like 1 million, but it was lower quality. Instead of being first name, last name, zip code, and company name, it was like just the company. And instead of knowing they were a paying customer, we just knew that they had trialed the software. So like much lower quality list, but still like it was working so well that even if it's lower quality, maybe it would work. And if it worked, I would need a lot more salespeople. So I put my best 3 salespeople on it, and it appeared over like 6 weeks that this test we were running on this new list was working. So I'm like, okay, we got to like hire salespeople and like grow the sales force even more. I don't know, we had 25 salespeople at the time. The 31 people total. A month goes by, we get everybody calling this list, and it is like, it's not even that they aren't closing deals. Like, they're not even connecting. You know what I mean? Like, the people are not even picking up the phone on the other end. Like, it was so far beyond like, what can we do to salvage the situation? That was just like, there's only one thing we can do. Like, this is not a business anymore. Like, we don't have anyone to call, you know? So it became very clear late one week that like, you know, it was just totally fucked. And there's a guy who's an advisor of mine. He's like kind of like a mentor. He's the chairman of the board. I called him and he's like, look, you know, hardest part of your job is this, right? It's like, but if you see something that is a systemic, like catastrophic risk to your business, like you have to cut the arm as though it has cancer, right? Like off of your body. And, you know, it's one of these situations where we walked in on Monday and it was like, I called 25 people into a room and it's like, if you're standing in this room, you don't have a job anymore. And they were just like, what are you talking about? So I explained to them the details and people mostly understood. And then of course you get wrecked on Glassdoor. And, you know, with that company, we didn't hire anyone after that. Like we stayed a squad of like 6 people. And then, you know, when I was able to sell it 3 years ago and there were like 10 when we sold it. So it was just a small thing. So yeah, I mean, that's terrible. That's like the worst. People bet on you. There's this horrible situation with this one girl who like I loved. Like we were going to hire a bunch of salespeople. She was a recruiter. She was in Australia. She was from Australia. So like I helped her with this visa issue and then like let her go 8 weeks in, you know, and it's just, what are you going to do? You know, and like, I don't know. It was absolutely terrible. That was like the hardest situation of all of them.
And you said like, you had one in 2023
yeah,
as well.
2023, it was like going for this unicorn thing, like all of the signal that we were getting back. I was like, this is a unicorn twice over. Like we needed outbounds working, like, which it wasn't. It was like our brand was growing and we were getting inbound that was getting caught by these outbound reps. So like you took the outbound squad from 2 to 8 and like they're booking the same amount of demos. Anyway, it went from total euphoria, which was actually overselling, which gave us basically we thought that there were 50,000 Shopify stores that we could sell a $30,000 deal to in 7 days. That I thought in year 2 would have like a 25 to 50% revenue expansion. When the dust settled, we were overselling so hard, it was 1,400 stores that we could sell a $20,000 deal to in 1 month at a 60% churn rate. You know, like that is just so radically different. And when that started to become evident, this VP sales that we had like worked forever and brought him on or whatever, he just like quit. And, you know, the sales org was 20 people. And it was like, all right, do we like replace this guy and keep these 20 people? I wanted like a super light inbound model the whole time anyway. I was like, Diana, can you just like keep the minimum amount of salespeople? We have a tremendous amount of inbound coming in here. Like just flood them with deals and be the VP sales yourself. And she's like, yeah, it's a good idea. So again, I didn't have to do it this time. Someone else did, but it was like 15 people on a call. You know, I don't even remember this guy's name, but VP sales quit, Mike quit. You know, we're shrinking the sales team. And we like, you know, again, I got annihilated on Glassdoor because like before this whole thing, we only had 6 people. Like we went from like 6 to like 50 or 60 in like 60 days or something like that. And then I have these HR ops people, whatever you want to call them. They like don't want us to manipulate the Glassdoor thing either. So like my Glassdoor presence for me personally and our company is just terrible. And like really does not reflect what it's like to work at our shop. But
It's funny that it's like I have these HR people that tell me don't manipulate
yeah, no,
because
you try to like
I'll
let
do it.
people. Yeah, you try to. I don't know. I try to let people like do what they believe in and not just bully them or whatever. But like, it's to me, I'm just like, guys, like I look at this. Everyone's gonna look at this. It's like a urine stain on my pants. I don't have to have a urine stain on my pants, but like we do. Like, why are we just leaving this here like that? Like, well, I think it's bullshit and no one really believes it anyway. Like, it's like, whatever, like, maybe they don't believe it, but like people look at that. I try to like fight it in my own ways. I basically have not looked at Glassdoor since the first time in 2015. I know what it says because they tell me. I want to understand what people's gripes are. But I had our video producer text me negative reviews about me and us. I didn't even know what our rating was. So we did this whole 45-minute shoot that I put on LinkedIn of me doing like mean tweets, like reading these negative reviews about our company and myself. And it was hard, man. It was really funny, but like there were 45 minutes of bad and then she sent a good one. And I was like, oh my God, like, I want to give this person a hug. Like, this is just amazing.
Is that Glassdoor, those Glassdoor reviews currently impacting your ability to hire the right people?
I think I'm just in a unique situation with all the founder brand work I'm doing. Like we have, literally every single day someone is saying, I want to work for somebody who has vision like you do. Do you have any room for X? Right. So I think we get the benefit. I think that like that effort, it's just so inconsistent with what people see on Glassdoor.
Yeah.
And I think for the people that are sort of in it, it overpowers it or something like that. I mean, I kind of like doing something like, I would like to like pay for the branding package on Glassdoor and just make a banner that says all of these people got fired at once.
Yeah.
Like literally like have that be our company brand.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like at the end of the day, it is what it is. It's the reality of things. It sounds like you had a couple of occurrences where you did a big bet, it didn't work out.
Yeah, and I mean, I've been doing this for 11 years, right? Like,
people won't be happy.
Yeah.
They're gonna go and give reviews and so on. You have to embrace it.
Totally.
And I think, to me, what you're doing with, being on stage, talking about the vision and, being on podcasts and all of this PR and so on, like you said, you will have people that really like what you do and how you think.
Yeah.
And, if they join the boat, it's gonna get rocky at some point. And it is what it is. At least you're taking on the responsibility. It was, it's no one else's fuck up. It's leadership. Decisions are being taken in a certain direction. But I think it's kind of like unrealistic to expect that everyone will be there for the long run, especially in a volatile ecosystem and economy that we exist nowadays. So,
and in early stage startups, man, they're just risky. Right?
It is.
Like, I try to run mine in a way where they're less risky, but like, man, it's just a risky space,
Couple of things to close off, because I'm being told that we need to close off, and I'm want to talk for another hour. 3 questions that I usually ask at the end. What's a quote that you live by?
Something like, I think, the whole like reputation is built over years and can be destroyed in a day. Like, I really like that.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's super important in everything to do with business.
And it sounds like it stems from your personal experiences as well. Book that influenced you?
Yeah, so like my favorite book as it pertains to building startups, which I recommend more than anything, is called 4 Steps to the Epiphany by Steve Blank.
Okay.
Check it out.
Awesome. And a good habit that you advocate for?
So I stopped drinking 3.5 years ago. It was just like a bad habit. So it's a really good habit for me to not do it, just because it leads to so many other healthy things. Like I sleep much better, you know, I think you work out more, and I just experience less anxiety and like annoyance with people when I'm not hungover a lot, you know? So yeah, that was a big one for me, that the habit of not consuming alcohol.
Okay.
It's a big one.
Well, I know a couple of people that don't drink alcohol. Awesome. Well, thank you. I have a gift for you.
Oh, amazing.
You are
Look at
the
this.
47th guest on my podcast.
Heck yeah.
In less than a year. Hopefully by the 1 year mark, it'll get to a point where there's enough impact to say, and that's why I'm giving these away, because the conversation with you, I'm sure there are a lot of founders out there that resonate with your story, especially the one around letting people go,
Yeah.
especially in the last couple of years.
It happens to everybody. It's the worst part of the job, but it's part of the job, you know?
Thank you so much, and I'm sure we'll have the opportunity to do another lengthier podcast. Especially you told me
I'd
that you
love
do
to.
5 podcasts per week, so
Yeah,
I'm sure there's
anytime,
going to be
man.
an opportunity. Cool. Cheers. Thank you so much.
Thanks. Thanks, everybody.